Coming up, the Phillies are back above 500 and the Rays salvage a series split in Oakland. This is Locked On Game to Game, MLB.
Every game, every team, every angle. Locked On Game to Game, your team every day.
Welcome in. You're listening to Locked On Game to Game MLB. Local experts join us to recap all of the action for you from yesterday across Major League Baseball. I'm your host, Kainani Stevens. We thank you, as always, for making Locked On your first listen every single weekday. The Cubs had a chance to sweep the division-leading Pirates last night, a win that would bring 4 NL Central teams within 4 games of a playoff spot. Our Locked On hosts tell us how the series finale played out at Wrigley Field.
Well. The Cubs sweep the Pirates in convincing fashion all 3 games. The offense woke up, and just like that, 3.5 games out of first all year, especially the last couple months, it's all been, hey, the Cubs are right in it. They just need to put a stretch together. Well, maybe, just maybe, they are finally doing that. Today, huge hits from pretty much everybody in the lineup. I mean, a lot of big hits. The biggest hit, Cody Bellinger returning from a long IL stint, came back, put the Cubs in front. Christopher Morel had a really big game. Nick Madrigal had a safety squeeze. Marcus Stroman continues to be one of, if not the best pitcher in the National League. Another win, another quality start for him. He leads the league in that category, and the Cubs bullpen shut it down again. Cubs will try and stay hot, but it won't be easy. The Baltimore Orioles are coming to town in what should be a fun weekend at Wrigley. Cubs are rolling.
The Braves jumped out to an early lead in their first meeting with the Rockies this season, and our Locked On local experts have more on how things played out in the end.
Rock on Rockies fans, Paulden here from the Locked On Rockies podcast. And, well, those Atlanta Braves are really good. If you give them an opportunity, if you give them chances like that, they will go for a big inning, just like they did against Kyle Freeland and the Colorado Rockies. They took one off the chin in this one, and if you're going to try to bounce back in the series, you're going to have to go after one of the best teams in the business. On top of that, though, there was some stuff to like. Ezekiel Tovar had a couple of base hits, including a big-time home run. It's just the Rocky starters. If they don't give you enough, if they don't keep you in the game, you're just going to run out of steam against those good teams, especially when you get down that early. Hilary Montero has to figure it out. He needs to start being a more consistent and bigger threat on offense because the question marks around him are starting to get bigger and bigger. We'll talk about it all right here on Locked On Rockies.
The Rangers and Angels took a tie game into the late innings on Thursday. Locked On Angels has more after how things went down in Arlington.
Well, if you're an Angel fan, I've got some good news and I've got some bad news. Hey, everybody, it's Mike Frisch, one half of Locked On Angels. Here's the good news. The Angels beat the Rangers on Thursday night 5-3, and they took 3 of 4 in this series and find themselves at 39-32. Shohei Ohtani got the win, went 6 innings, gave up 2 runs, and then late in the game, hit a massive home run to give the Angels a 5-2 lead. In the 9th inning, Carlos Estevez walked the bases loaded, and then Jacob Webb came in, and he shut the game down. He's the hero of this game and locked it in 5-3 for the Angels. Now that's the good news. Here's the bad news. Gio got hurt. Neto's on the IL. Rendon got hit in the wrist and didn't look the same, did stay in the game. And so we might have a brand new bench by the end of the weekend. John and I are going to talk about the weekend series against the Royals on Monday, and we hope you'll join us on Locked On Angels.
Coming up, the Orioles win their series with Toronto. This is Locked On Game to Game, MLB. Today's edition of Locked On Game to Game is brought to you by Birddogs. They are the stylish but comfortable. They're the best shorts for men. If you head over to birddogs.com/LockedOnMLB and enter promo code LockedOnMLB, you'll get a free Yeti-style tumbler with your next order. That's birddogs.com/LockedOnMLB for a free Yeti-style tumbler. You won't want to take your bird dogs off, we promise. Welcome back. You're listening to Locked On Game to Game MLB. I'm your host, Kainani Stevens. The Guardians and Padres scored a combined 8 runs in the first inning in San Diego last night, setting things up for a high-scoring matchup right out of the gate. Locked On hosts check in with us from the West Coast after things played out.
Joined by my old co-host. He was insisting on being part of this Locked On Now to discuss the Cleveland Guardians win today over the San Diego Padres. They finally get a win in this series after losing the first 2. Is this the David Fry breakout game? So many rookies were integral to this team's success a year ago, many of them not performing as well in year 2, and we haven't really had that rookie breakout so far this year. And we'll see how it goes with Fry. But he did it both hitting his first home run of his career, 3-run shot in the first, as well as defense, throwing out base runners, blocking balls that were not easy to block from the plate. He was definitely one of the stars of this one. A big throw out at third base caught stealing in particular stands out in my mind in this game. Cleveland wins. Pitching had trouble. Offense was great. Josh Naylor's hit streak continues on, longest in baseball. We'll go in depth on this game on Locked On Guardians. Make sure you check it out.
That was toughy. What's up, guys? Javier Reyes of Locked On Padres here, coming at you live. Not really live, it's just a dumb video. Padres, unfortunately, blow the sweep opportunity. 8-6 loss, but they did score 6 runs. You did get some cool home run power from Manny Machado, but just a pretty bonkers game. If you're going to lose a game, at least make it entertaining, if you abide by that philosophy. Unfortunately, the Padres, their runners in scoring position issue did pop up a little bit, but they also did score 6, so it wasn't just that for them. But you had Xander Bogaerts grounding out with the bases loaded into a double play. You had a situation when Juan Soto was on second. He gets caught stealing third. They're not able to bring him in. Tatis was at second. It's just, unfortunately, they couldn't quite get it on. But you know what? Still won 2 out of 3 games, and the fact that the team's been at all pretty competent offensively lately has been really cool, and they've been looking a lot better. So hopefully they can keep it going, because next up is the Tampa Bay Rays. So I think that's why myself and other fans wanted the sweep, because they got a tough team coming to town next. We'll see how that transpires. Might be a big show me series, and maybe the Padres get back on track, but we'll have to see, man. And Ryan Weathers, not great, but hey, what can you do? He's a 5th starter. But anyway, stay faithful, everybody.
The Orioles' Tyler Wells allowed a pair of home runs to Danny Jansen, but none of the other Blue Jays got a run across, and Baltimore beat Toronto on Thursday night. Locked On Orioles has more after that victory.
That's another series win for the Baltimore Orioles. And this one, well, it means a little bit more when you can take down a divisional opponent, especially when it is the Toronto Blue Jays. Orioles win it 4-2 on Thursday afternoon to take 2 out of 3 in the series, now 5-1 against the Jays this year. Connor Newcomb here, host of Locked On Orioles, and the O's just kind of did all the little things in this game. 6 2/3 strong innings from Tyler Wells. Bullpen, they finally got to use Yennier Cano and Felix Bautista after 5 days off. Both of them pitched fairly well. Bautista better than Cano, but both were good enough to get the win. Austin Hayes homers, Adley Rutschman homers. The Orioles get a couple of key hits in the game and win just a clean baseball game on Thursday to take the series. You love to see it. Love to see it in division, and I'll recap it all on Friday's episode of the Locked On Orioles podcast.
The Astros and Nationals went scoreless into the 9th inning, setting things up for a very dramatic finish in extra innings. Locked On local experts check in with us after the game.
Well, that was a frustrating game. You don't get any offense for 8 innings. Then Yainer Diaz does something that he hasn't really done much, and he actually came through with runners in scoring position. And you tied a game in the 9th inning after Ryan Presley gave up the lead on a home run. After a game, Ryan Presley said it was a pitcher's pitch. He's trying to do his job. He doesn't know what's going on. But the bullpen, you had Phil Maton in the 10th inning give up 3 runs, one of them on a bases loaded walk. And it just seems like the Astros, when they get to extra innings, they don't know how to not allow the run to score. So that's something that the Astros do need to work on, but they do get 2 out of 3 from the Washington Nationals, and they go on to face the rising Cincinnati Reds next. So make sure you tune in to Locked On Astros podcast as we discuss this and more.
That's a wrap for this edition of Locked On Game to Game MLB. As always, we thank you for making Locked On your first listen every weekday. Now go make sure that you are subscribed to Locked On MLB and your favorite team's Locked On podcast on YouTube and wherever else you download your podcasts from. I'm Kainani Stevens. This has been Locked On Game to Game.